340 here with another roster review, this time for DHD. So, DHD. For your fleet, the two things that I immediately see and I'm happy with is that you have a well-geared Biggs and a well-geared Vader. And this is great because based off these ships you have geared up, that means these two are going to be ones that you want to have in your main three. So your starting setup. So that's wonderful. This is maybe not the meta for ships right now, but they can still, to some degree, compete, especially depending upon what your current fleet chart is. If Geonosians haven't taken over yet, it definitely should. These two ships are super useful. Um, and there are fleets that are better than Geonosians, but you're not really close to any of those yet, as most of them require a lot of the newer ships that have come in the game, many of which aren't even farmable. So, for the third ship to go alongside these guys, there's generally two options that I see. The Ghost or the Imperial TIE Fighter. My personal preference and the one I used and know how I use it is the Imperial TIE Fighter. But for that, you need a better geared TIE pilot. But the problem is, you look over at your Ghost, you have the same problem where you need better geared pilots. Because the better geared pilots will help increase your ship's damage, they will help increase your ship's speed, and all around stats. That's how it works. If you're increasing the stats on a character, just overall increases the ship's stats. Very much like increasing the stars or levels on a character. So you need to look into gearing one of those. The easier one to do would probably be TIE Fighter Pilot because it only requires one character. However, the more useful one for in-game to do would probably be the Phoenix Crew. And on top of that, they would make for a good reinforcement either way. But you can go either way. The goal with TIE Fighter Pilot is simply to use his special ability to get up a foresight on him, and your goal is just get him to dodge as many times as you can to give more turn meter to your capital ship. That's the whole goal with TIE Fighter Pilot. He also does a decent amount of damage. It can help get out more target locks to increase the protection on your Biggs. It's really a whole goal of TIE Fighter Pilot. Now, on the other hand, with Ghost, what Ghost allows you to do is Ghost will allow you to put TIE Advance under Stealth so that they're forced to focus the attack on your Biggs and not TIE Advance, because it is super annoying if they attack your TIE Advance first and take him out before your Biggs can even taunt. I've had that happen before. So having a ship like the Ghost that can put TIE Advance under Stealth is a lot better than simply having Biggs taunt. And having Biggs taunt and TIE Advance under Stealth, even better. So the Ghost is great. Either option works. Just decide which direction you want to go. Or you can do both because, as I said, Ghost also works well in many fleets as a reinforcement. Now let's take a look at your capital ships here. If you're going to be using the fleet I just suggested, you're going to want to have the Chimera leveled up. So, good news for you, you nearly have all the abilities up. You just need to max them out. Max out Fierce Loyalty first, and then either Art of War or Phylon Beam. Phylon Beam will allow you to deal more damage. In this case, inflict speed down, which is great because that means they're still going slower even if you don't get turn meter removal. Art of War is also great because it increases the heal that gives to your characters. Calculated Strike is the last thing you want to do because generally you never get around to using the basic on a capital ship. And then Strategic Dominance would be second to last. So I would suggest leveling those up, and if you can, get Grand Admiral Thrawn to Gear 12. You can put a Zeta on him if you so choose. That helps, but isn't necessarily necessary. It's more determined. The extent to which you need Zetas on characters and ships is determined on what your current fleet shard's looking like. You notice the other Chimera capital ships have the Zetas on their Thrawn, then it becomes more of a necessity because it does give you a 1 or 2 speed bump boost. It's not much, but in ships that can make a difference. Because ships basically acts like normal squad arena before mods was ever added in. But yeah, just work on your Chimera a little more. It's good enough to go ahead and start using. And the problem with Home 1's great with Geos and Rebels, but you don't really have fleets to make that work, and the Rebel fleets aren't even meta anyhow. And with Geos, Home 1's only good on attack. So it's great you have Home 1 Akbar geared up and Home 1 leveled up, because you do need a great ship for things like territory battles and territory wars. But in normal ships arena, it's not going to do you much use at the moment. Akbar could easily have his day in the heyday again if the right ship was added in the game, however. So, as I said, for the main starting three, you're going to want to have Bix, advanced in either Ghost or TIE Fighter. Now we need to look at your reinforcements. The first and most important reinforcement for most anyone to have nowadays, especially for meta, is the Phantom. And it's because of two things: Covert Strike and Maximum Impact. Covert Strike, which you need to get level this all the way up, it reduces the cooldown of call reinforcement on allied capital ship, which is super important because that means you can flood the field with ships quicker. If you have the option to put a new ship out on the board, you almost always want to do it 99% of the time. So Covert Strike's great for that. And this is a ship you'll generally want to call in as your first reinforcement. I don't see many situations where you don't, because Maximum Impact here deals tons of damage to the enemy. That's the whole point of it. Deal physical damage to target enemy with 70% chance to grant allies critical chance up. This ability has a chance to get between 80 to 100k in damage, which for ships is pretty massive. Not many ships can do that. TIE Advance is one of the only other ships I know that can potentially reach that point in damage. So Maximum Impact super important, which means you need to gear your Ezra so that you can max this ability out right here. On top of that, you just need to gear your Phoenix characters for the Phantom in general. Sabine's quite low, Ezra's low, Chopper's rather low. If you gear these guys up, it will give the Phantom more speed and more damage in order to be getting that massive amount of damage I was talking about. Once I currently finish gearing my bounty hunters, the Phoenix crew is going to be my next farm. So I'm not giving you advice I'm not going to be taking myself. Another good, two good reinforcements that you already have geared up are TIE Reaper and Slave 1. Slave 1's great because it comes in as a tank. Well, it's an attacker, but it comes in with a taunt. And if you have what you do, all out offensive all the way max, he has critical damage. You can't put critical damage on him, which means he's taking less damage, which is great. So Boba Fett is a great ship, and he's constantly countering when you bring him out. So Slave 1 is a really good reinforcement ship to have. So right now, based off of the ships that you have geared up, I suggest Slave 1. Another ship, and I think I still have it in as one of my reinforcement ships, is the TIE Reaper. Because the TIE Reaper is great with its defensive formation here, which I see you have maxed all the way out, which is great. You want to probably try and max out Grim Voyage if you can. That's a real good ability to have maxed out. Anything that gives or removes turn meter, anything that gives turn meter to yourself in ships or removes turn meter from the opposing team is always a great ability, and is generally something you want to have leveled up. And that is one of the few things that affects capital ship turn meter, which is something that makes it great. Though you might not always be bringing the TIE Reaper out, to have that occasional removal of turn meter is really nice. But TIE Reaper, one of the other things I love about it as a reinforcement is one of its abilities is a dispel. I forget what, I think it's heavy interference here. Yes, heavy interference. It's a dispel. So you call it in, and then let's say someone called in Boba Fett as an annoying reinforcement. You're able to dispel all buffs from them. I'm sure you know this. It looks like you're probably using it as a reinforcement yourself right now, which is an excellent choice. Now, I want to suggest Houndstooth as a reinforcement. I've already suggested Phantom. The problem is with both of these, the characters need to be geared up. Houndstooth, the reason why I would suggest this as a reinforcement is you already have the ship 4-star. And though the ship's not great at 4-star, it's much more, you really need to have it 7-star so it's not easily defeatable. At 4-star, probably makes for a better reinforcement than it does starting out on your ship. And it's also, the other reason I'm suggesting Houndstooth is I do see a lot of people use Houndstooth as a reinforcement, and it's quite annoying to see Houndstooth come out on the field. And on top of that, you always, if you can, want to have a tank in your reinforcements. I currently have Biggs in my reinforcements because it's really annoying to have the other side call out a tank after you just defeat their Biggs or their Sun Factor or their Houndstooth, because it generally taunts pretty quickly, and that means you just have to go through another tank while their attackers are beating down your side. Just hurts. So, if you're able to gear up Bosk to at least gear 11, I would say use Houndstooth, but I wouldn't want to use him at low gear level in ships. Now, another ship you can use in the meantime while you wait to level up either the Phantom 2 or Houndstooth is the First Order TIE Fighter. This is one I think people kind of miss out on, and I think it has some good uses. I'm not using it anymore, but for quite a while I did, because I love the raid communication protocol right here, because it adds turn meter to your side and inflicts a target lock, which means you call it out. If Biggs isn't taunting, it causes Biggs to taunt, and on top of that, it heals Biggs protection a little bit, which is always annoying. And then if you have it leveled up all the way, your allies gain 15% turn meter, which can help get some turns out for your side on the field a bit more. Now, of course, you need to gear up. You need to level up the thing on Phantom 2 all the way. If you decide to use Houndstooth, you need to level up the reinforcement ability on Houndstooth all the way. But I personally see First Order TIE Fighter, especially if you're going to use it, as a good investment for the reinforcement abilities, especially after Phantom 2. Though it does come down to whether or not you're actually using him in the reinforcements, and he still has some use with the simple inflict target lock on him, and it's always annoying to have another attacker come out as well, especially one like First Order TIE Fighter who can just clean out the field if there's a bunch of target locks on the other side. Now, just looking at your fleet in general, I noticed that you have all the Geonosians 7-star, and their ship's 7-star. And on top of that, you have Geonosian Soldier gear 11, and the other two are in purple gear. Now, I'm not going to tell you currently to go out and gear the Geonosians right now. I know a lot of people don't want to do that because the Geonosian characters aren't good outside of ships. But I will say this. If you decided to gear up Geonosians right now, for the purpose of ships, if you care about ships, you won't be disappointed, especially if your current arena shard is beginning to be dominated by Geonosians. I personally recently finally geared up my Geonosians to gear 12. You'd probably be fine just taking them up to gear 11. Um, but I haven't been disappointed. I was having trouble getting into the top 10. Um, again, once until I finally geared up my Geonosians because the Geonosians were starting to take over my fleet more. Now that the Geonosians aren't dominant in my fleet, I'm not having as much trouble. Oh, now that I have Geonosians that I can use. I'm personally using Chimera as my capital ship with the Geonosians, but Executrix and Home 1 are both excellent capital ships to use with Geonosians too. Executrix is commonly known as the best defensive uh, capital ship for the Geonosians. So both of those are good investments if you decide to start using the Geos. And on top of that, I mean, Sunfact, and Geonosian Soldier are not as hard gears as most people make them out to be. And Geospy is a little harder, but I personally did not find any of these guys to be too hard to gear. They just took away gear resources from other things I could have been using them on. But in the end, I'm pretty happy. They're a fun fleet to use. I was using the same fleet for so long in ships. It's been able to mix it up. Now, another thing to look out for in ships is the bounty hunter ships, which is great. You have the 3 new ones, all 7-star. And if you don't have Chewie yet, these are the bounty hunters I would suggest gearing for the Chewie event because you might as well go ahead and get them ready so that once you are able to farm these ships, you already have the characters all the way to at least gear 11. So you're basically knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. You get Chewie, and you're getting them ready for the bounty hunter ships. Because Xanadu Blood and Houndstooth are easy meta right now if you have them. They can beat the Geos, which is probably the common meta at the moment. Anakin Skywalker Starfighter is pretty decent as well, but the bounty hunter ships are really good ships to have. IG 2000 not as much if you decide just to go for Cad Bane and Bosk instead, but you could go for them. This is just to help you give direction. Again, my goal in ships is to help people go in a direction that makes most sense for other parts of the game. Like Phoenix, these characters are going to help you out in territory battles. They're going to help you out in Heroic Sith Raid. They're not the best team for Heroic Sith Raid, but they can still put out damage, and I forget which phase, but they can still put out a little bit of damage in one of the phases. And they're going to have use in territory wars. So it makes sense. Bounty hunters, same thing. They have uses in other areas of the game. Maybe it's not squad arena meta, but they're usable in territory battles and territory wars in some events that come around on occasion. Like you need them for the Scoundrels event if you don't have the necessary Scoundrels. You probably do. I imagine you do at this point. But they have uses in other areas of the game. Geo's not so much, and that's my problem with suggesting it with people. But bounty hunters, if you do want to get ahead of the curve, there are some ships to go after right there. But overall, you're looking a lot better than a lot of people take a look at, and I think having a gear 12 Vader and Biggs is definitely in your favor for ships. It looks like you have a gear 10 Shore Trooper. You could always get him up to gear 11 or 12. Shore Trooper is an excellent tune. But overall, I think it comes down to with some of these guys, if you just want to do the investment and put the Zeta in them, if you have the extra Zeta, feel free. But again, that's really based on where your fleet shard is. You may not need it. But in the end, I think you're looking well. Just gear up your Phoenix characters. I think that will help you and gear up the abilities for the Ghost and Phantom. Look at if you want gearing the Houndstooth and the uh, gearing Bosk and the Imperial TIE Fighter pilot. Just as a quick review to end off, starting fleet should be TIE Advanced and Biggs with either Ghost or TIE Fighter, Imperial TIE Fighter, and then Chimera as your capital ship, and then reinforcements of Phantom, Slave One, TIE Reaper, and either Houndstooth or First Order TIE Fighter. I really hope this helps you out, DHD. I don't know what your current fleet makeup is, but these are my suggestions. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. And I may have forgotten some stuff I could have said, but I really want to help people get better at ships. So have a good day. And again, reach out to me if you need it. Bye.